My 9-year-old son adjusted his brand new science fair tie, beaming as he asked, "Dad is going to love this, right?" Minutes later, my husband texted and bluntly wrote, "Don't drive down. There are no seats left for you guys." I stared at Finn's polished black shoes, still grinning, not yet knowing his evening was about to be obliterated by a man who couldn't be bothered to make up a convincing lie. "What did you just text me?" I typed back. My phone rang a second later. "There's a strict fire code," Dominic repeated, his voice flat, bored. "They won't let anyone else into the venue. Just order room service." Behind him, a woman laughed, a very specific, high-pitched laugh. Sabrina, she was his lead investor, the one whose urgent strategy emails always seemed to arrive at 2:00 a.m. and never once contained a financial spreadsheet. "Is your sister at the venue?" I asked, my voice dangerously even. "Don't start your paranoid drama tonight of all nights. I'm at a $12 million tech launch." "Then put your sister on the phone." Silence, just static, and somewhere in the background, upbeat electronic synth music. "Dominic, put your sister on the phone. She's prepping the stage," he said quickly, too quickly. Then Sabrina's voice floated straight into the receiver. "Dominic, honey, your parents are waiting for the founder's portrait." "Founders?" She said it like her name was already etched onto the patent plaque. Finn tugged the hem of my blouse. "Mom, why doesn't Dad want us at the presentation?" I looked at my son in that oversized blazer he had begged for, the one he'd ironed himself for 3 days straight, and something inside my ribcage went entirely still. It was the stillness that settles in right before you stop negotiating. "Enjoy your keynote, Dominic," I said, and tapped the red icon before he could mutter another excuse. Here is what Dominic underestimated about the woman he married. For 11 months, I had watched equity shares in our robotic startup slowly shift into a shadow holding company, buried under LLCs labeled as vendor equity. There were no new vendors, no outsourced development, no third-party coding. I was the lead developer. I wrote the neural network. I compiled the datasets that made his navigation system functional. Dominic loved to joke at dinner parties that I was just his code monkey. The code monkey had admin credentials he never once thought to audit. The proprietary software they were about to demo to a room of Silicon Valley executives belonged exclusively to a shell corporation registered in my maiden name. We had pivoted the architecture 2 years ago. Dominic thought the transfer of IP ownership was buried in a stack of DocuSigns on his desk, safe from my eyes. He forgot I was the one who encrypted the drive. I called my intellectual property attorney Harlan before Finn had even loosened his tie. "I'm ready," I told him, staring at the Chicago skyline. "Execute the digital lockout. Send the cease and desist to the board of directors right now." "Audrey, you know this tanks the Series B funding, right?" "I've never been more certain of a tactical strike in my life." I opened my laptop and bypassed the standard user portal, logging directly into the Amazon Web Services master console. Dominic had insisted on migrating to cloud infrastructure 18 months ago for scalability. He had completely forgotten I still held the root security keys. The live feed of the keynote loaded on my screen. The stage was bathed in blue light. Dominic stood at the podium in his tailored charcoal suit, Sabrina pressed against his shoulder like she owned the airspace around him. His parents sat in the front row, beaming up at both of them like this was the brilliant power couple they had always wanted. He looked exactly like a man who thought he had successfully stolen a fortune in plain sight. I watched Dominic check his Rolex. I watched him lean over and whisper something to Sabrina that made her throw her head back and laugh. That same careless, arrogant laugh that had crawled through my phone speaker at exactly 6:42 p.m. Then, the giant LED screen behind them booted up for the live navigation demo. I hovered my cursor over the Revoke Master Accesses button. Dominic raised his tablet, smiling for the cameras, unaware that the servers powering his entire life's work were resting under my index finger. I pressed down. The massive LED screen went black, followed by a glaring red system error, reading unauthorized access. The crowd gasped. Dominic frantically tapped his tablet. From the side of the stage, 2 men in sharp gray suits stepped past the velvet ropes, carrying thick manila envelopes. His parents turned, confused. Dominic hadn't seen the process servers yet. He was still smiling at Sabrina, still holding his useless device, completely blind to the fact that his entire empire was evaporating in real time.